It's just so small.
Where it just jettisoned.
Hey there, this is the Small Stuff Podcast. My name is Kyle Roebuck. This is the intro. Let's start the show. I did it again. I forgot. I'm pretty sure I've been saying your last name right. Brandon Qualls?
Correct.
Right? Okay,
Yep.
Cool. It seems like it's kind of hard to mess up, but it could have been Quails or something.
Yeah, I've gotten Qualls,
Yeah.
Are you related to Dan Quayle? Well, no, it's a completely different
It's different
spelling.
Yeah. So Brandon Qualls, well, first, before I get into it, this whole intro thing is weird to me. I'm never going to get good at it. I just want everyone to go follow Small Stuff Podcast on Instagram, Facebook. If you're not following us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, all that, everything's in the description or the show notes. Make sure you're following Small Stuff Media also. Got a lot of followers in the last few days. We had a reel that we posted blow up, and as usual, it's one that Josh is on. Josh and Brighton come on and do the Marvel podcasts that we do. So that one blew up the other day, and we're getting a lot of followers off that. So go follow Small Stuff Media. Also, Roebuck Visuals, if you want to follow me. I've actually never plugged that, but go follow me on Instagram, Roebuck Visuals, Facebook, and About That with Obi Smith. And yeah, that's it. All right, we're going to get into it now. Brandon, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course, man. So Brighton, technically one of your employees also, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Team member,
Yeah.
family member, kind of all blending together.
He's awesome.
He is.
He works really hard.
I've been very thankful and grateful to have both Josh and Brighton down at that store. I
wasn't going to say anything about Josh. Whatever. He doesn't work for me, so.
Yeah. But no, they're great, and they've done a phenomenal job down there.
Yeah. So before we get into all that, I kind of want, like I explained to you, the whole premise of bringing on people. If I don't already know you, the whole idea is I just kind of get to know you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned before when we were talking, you're from Vermont originally.
Yeah, I was originally born in North Carolina.
Okay.
After my parents separated, I moved back up north with my mother to Massachusetts and Vermont area. I spent the majority of my childhood, I would say, first half of the early childhood in Massachusetts, in the Boston area, Cambridge, and then we moved out to Vermont just to kind of get away from the city. And I think my mom kind of wanted to slow down a little bit, so moved out there. I spent a lot of time Vermont outdoors, and then I migrated back to where I was born. Went to school at East Carolina, and then I've stuck around Greenville for 22 years now. So this is now home. I've been here longer than I've lived anywhere else. So.
Yeah. See, that's interesting, like, to hear that you came back here and you stayed here. You've been here for almost, you said over 20 years or 20 years?
Yeah, this will be 22 years.
Right.
Now.
And so when you came back here, how old were you?
I was 18.
Okay. All right. So usually when someone like you, someone who's involved in a lot of different businesses, like you get your hands in a lot of different pots. Usually when I'm talking to people like that, they might originally be from here. They don't come back until they're like already making something, like they're doing something. And I don't know if you were doing that when you were 18, not making any assumptions, but like Lucas Owens, he's from here. He moved to Raleigh.
Right.
Because that's where things were happening.
Right.
And then things started happening here and he was like, I'm going to go back to Greenville, kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know if it was that, but you know what I'm saying? Usually it's a little later.
Yeah.
So what made you stay, I guess, is what I'm wondering. Because 20 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot going on here.
I could say, I guess it was chasing opportunities when I was young. So, I got, well, it was a multitude of things. So during my school period, I was wild. I had lofty dreams of what I was going to do in the hospitality business. I thought I wanted to be a food and beverage director. I thought I wanted to be a hotel GM. That's what my young self thought because that's where the money was at. I love the business, not the way I do now. But I was kind of blinded more by money than I was passion. And I quickly found out that was going to be a miserable existence. So, yeah. So I wasn't originally from Greenville. I was born in Burlington. I didn't spend a lot of time there. It was 2 when I moved back up north. When I came back down here, like I said, I had a few job opportunities coming out of college, got into some trouble, stuck around, pulled myself back together, made it work, got another opportunity. Let's see. I was at Chef's 505 back in the day. Okay. That is where Cafe Duo is now. So there used to be.
I've heard that name. Where's Cafe Duo?
Over by Kaufman's.
Okay.
Arlington.
Yeah.
So I was there for a long time. Then I moved down to Washington with Van Kutrens and opened up Pia's. Then I moved from there and went to the Hilton and redesigned Christine's in the Village, and then was quickly moved out of there into banquets and food and beverage, and then running, the food and beverage operations for the Hilton and all that. So, it was an important step in my career. Did I think it was a lot of doing what I figured out what I didn't want to do to finally figure out, hey, I really like being creative. I really like developing things. So that wasn't, happening at the Hilton. I was crunching a lot of numbers, and it was important. It was super important to learn all that structure and operating procedures. But there was something about making 3,000 of the same plates day in and day out that I was just kind of like, it was robotic. It was long hours. It was, everybody's like, well, I'll open my own business and I'll work less. No, you'll work more, but you just won't feel like you're working, I guess you can say.
Right.
A lot of times I'm like, I forget I'm actually working. There are days where you're like, man, I'm tired of this too. It's a love-hate relationship. But, that's how I kind of started going out on my own. And I just realized, if I was going to grind 70 hours a week, why not do it for myself and then have the creative freedom to kind of develop something I wanted. So that's kind of how I got into Ford and Shep, and then Stumpy's came along, and then now another Stumpy's down in Greenville, South Carolina I'm working on, and then Amante on the corner, which is going to be crazy tacos and frozen drinks and all outdoors.
So you mentioned you've been in hospitality for kind of your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
How did you originally get into it? And when were you kind of introduced to that? And by hospitality, what do you mean? You got into what originally?
I fell in love with food first.
Okay. Me too, if it wasn't obvious.
My I think, life changed. My mom ended up going back to work. I had 2 younger siblings that were, 6 years younger than me. I started playing around with, food was important in our family. We traveled a lot, so we got to experience a lot. So I think that helped. I just started to play around with stuff in the refrigerator, waiting on my mom to come home, making stuff for my brother, sister. That just kept evolving into starting to read a little bit of cookbooks and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then moving into, my mom got remarried to Brooks, her current husband, who was a GM of a 5-star resort in Western Massachusetts. Mm. And, he introduced me more into some of the fine dining kind of establishments and the hot cuisine. And I really kind of looked up to him and the role that he played. And, he was and still is, just a forefront, in management for hospitality. He's run huge resorts, turned resorts around. I really liked his style. It was calm, collected. It took me – I'm still working on that style at 40. I feel like he had it nailed a lot sooner than I did. But so that evolved. He took me to a few places. We went to the city a lot, New York City. And then just working in that atmosphere too. There's something about the restaurant hospitality atmosphere too that – the party scene, it's fast paced. It's, it's there's crisis everywhere, and you got to kind of put out fires at all times. You know, I fell in love with that in a healthy way and in an unhealthy way. You know, which led to a lot of, you know, I struggled a lot with substances through, you know, all the way through my mid-30s. You know, it's just a lot of times, you know, a day at a restaurant might be, you know, you party all night, you shake off the hangover, or you work out the hangover the next day. Yeah. And then you rinse and repeat 6 days a week. Yeah.
I had Luke on. I've had him on a couple times now. And it might have been the first time I had him on. We kind of talked about what that sort of culture that's around restaurants. It seems to be almost universal. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are trying to get rid of it.
It is. And there's a lot, I feel like our, you know, and Luke could probably attest to this too. I feel like our industry's changed a lot with, you know, I do see a movement away from, you know, kitchens were run like militaries too. I mean, it was, you know, the executive chef was a dictator. You know, there was no freedom. You know, you did what the executive chef said. The sous followed his lead, and if you didn't do it, you were going to there was a potential to get stabbed, you know, or burned, or, you know, or just, you know, get the F out of here. Yeah. You know, you know, I mean, now, you know, I think a lot with just society changing too. I mean, half the people that work for me now would never have survived back then. I mean, I think our, you know, we've gotten a little sensitive as we've moved along, but, you know, there's also no place in it too. You know, I don't run our restaurant like that. You know, we're a true team. So, you know, I want you to bring to the table what you think's good. We work on it together. You know, my say is not final in that. I don't go, you know, this is what we're doing. I like to get other people's opinions. Hey, you know, Grant, hey, Bill, you know, what do you guys think? Yeah. You know, and it just, I don't know. I guess coming up through all that yelling and screaming, I just, you know, I didn't want to carry on that. I don't know. It's just, it makes everybody uncomfortable, and productivity is at an all-time low, and you just have people screaming at each other. And that's a big important thing in all our businesses. We don't want, I mean, drama creeps in, but we really try to keep it away from, you know, because I feel like, and, you know, I think some of my employees can attest to that. You know, it's a lot of times I feel like it's a reprieve to come to work. And that's, you know, as an owner and as a business owner, that makes me happy that, you know, hey, these guys feel good about coming to work and like to be here, because and it helps them build pride in, you know, what we're doing too. And, you know, I've had a lot of people take care of me, you know, and I've been patient, and I feel like I've been as loyal as I possibly could in some places, and it paid off. And I tried to carry that on. You know, my stepfather, that was one of the lessons. You know, he was paying a dishwasher back in, gosh, that had to be like 99, 98. You know, the guy was making like $14 an hour washing dishes back then.
Damn. Yeah.
And I was extremely.
That's not bad for a dishwasher now.
Yeah. And I was shocked. You know, so I asked him, I said, you know, and he got a huge Christmas bonus. So I was, you know, I'm like, what is the deal here? And, you know, he explained to me, he's like, look, this guy, you know, he goes above and beyond. I never really have to tell him how to do anything. It's easier for me to pay him a little bit more, take care of him, and move him along. And long story short, you know, 5 years down the road or 4 years down the road, this guy becomes, you know, manager or whatever, you know. But, you know, taking care of those people around you and trying to promote from within, and, you know, we really try to, you know, we're going to move some of our guys up over to the new place. And, you know, same thing with Josh and Brighton. I mean, they've got some new projects coming up for themselves. So, you know, I wouldn't be where I'm at without being surrounded by amazing people. I mean, there's no possible way, you know, and that's, I think, is the difference in the hospitality business now and the restaurant business is you've got to remove some ego, you know, and that for young chefs, I think, was tough. And it was just that old guard, I guess you could say, but you got to remove the ego.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that, like, growing up watching, like, movies are the only reference I really have, you know, but like watching TV or movies or anything where, like, you've got, like, the boss, like the traditional structure, you know, it's like this guy's got the final say or this person has the final say, and you just have to do what they say no matter what. Mm-hmm. It seems like, I don't know if it doesn't seem like it's just something happening here. It's like, yeah, this person is still in charge, but at the same time, they value, as long as you're not a dumbass, everyone's opinions. By the way, you can curse on this. You said F a while ago.
I swear quite a bit, so I just wanted to check just to make sure.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. There's an E on every episode.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
We're good.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, that, like, it seems like I'm no business guru or anything, I'm just like, I'm a small business owner and I work with a bunch of small businesses, and it seems like everybody is kind of on the same page as far as fostering a new environment, like a new culture around like running business in general. Like, I work a lot with Hunter and Justin at Catch, and like, yeah, they're like the guys in charge, but at the same time, they're always like, what do you, like, I don't know what to do here. What are you thinking? Like, we're not really sure. Does this work? You think this will be good?
They've removed their ego out of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't used to be that way. And, I'm glad to see that I think it's all growth. I think it's all a part of getting older. I mean,
when did that change for you? Like, you said you didn't used to be that way. So, I mean, did you used to be the guy in the kitchen like, hey, man?
Yeah. I mean, I screamed a lot. I yelled a lot.
Yeah.
It's
not a nice way to live.
It's awful.
It doesn't do anything for you either.
No, and that's, I've made a lot of mistakes in that aspect, and two, I think it starts from within. I think there was a lot of, for me personally, I mean, it was, I don't know, it was like the way I was supposed to be, I felt like I was supposed to act that way.
Right.
I think a lot of it comes from our childhood, the way, our parents might react to things, or, I didn't have a lot of self-confidence in myself. And I think people that kind of act that way, I mean, I know that now and I have that self-reflection. I didn't have a lot of self-confidence in myself. I had to learn the difference between being healthy self-confidence and being humble and being a pretentious asshole. Because I'm sure throughout my career and through a lot of things, I've come off that way. I've come off just like a straight asshole.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, it's not that I'm being dismissive of you, or a lot of times I was too busy,
Yeah.
At least I thought I was. But, who am I to, everybody else has their own things going on.
Right.
Probably a lot worse than I have going on. We all have our own struggles, our own problems. So, I try to remind myself of that on the daily, hey, look, like, I might be having a bad day. You have no clue what's going on with somebody else. So why not? It's just easier to treat everybody with respect and be nice. And, I carried a lot of that stuff, and I won't do it anymore. I would rather suck it up, apologize, not even suck it up. I mean, just apologize. If I was wrong, I'll apologize for it.
Yeah.
And it's just a healthier way to live. And I think that's, a lot of that change, I think, with getting sober 4 years ago. There's nothing harder to sit with yourself, after you've used something for so long, to disappear and hide from yourself, that you finally realize, hey, like, I'm part of the problem, whether you like it or not. And I think that's important for all of us to do in business and life, is to kind of check ourselves on the regular.
Yeah.
Hey, am I wrong here? Or, have a good confidant or a couple people that you can rely on that will tell you the truth and say, and then and that was a problem of mine too. I'd have somebody check me, ego comes in.
And you're like, hey, shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. What the fuck do you know? What's your opinion?
Exactly.
And then
it's so easy to spot people like that too. Like, you can pick those people out like really quickly.
Yeah.
The people who don't have their ego in check, they don't. It all seems like it stems from insecurity, like you were saying.
It's 100%, I think, from insecurity. I think it's, and
they have to have control.
And they have to have control.
Yeah.
And, I tried to control so many things. I mean, it's just, and I checked myself just this past weekend. I'm getting a little irritated because, the weather and COVID reared its head back up. And, I'm like, well, great. I've learned that a lot of it just comes from thinking. Positive, self-talk, positive thinking. If you have gratitude for the small things, I think we get away from, we're looking at what everybody else has or what we don't have, when, a lot of times you're like, like I'm sitting here on a podcast today, it's beautiful outside. Yes, it's cold.
It is
but
fucking freezing today.
It's fucking cool as shit. And there's weather coming this weekend. And I'm like, great. But I'm like, you know what? If I spend all that time, and that's what I think my biggest regret through my life is I've wasted so much time on worrying and trying to control things that are completely out of my control that I'll never, be able to control ever.
Yeah.
You can't control weather. You can't control other people. As much as you want to try or you think you can, you can't. You're wasting your time, your energy, your own mental health, your own sanity trying to do that.
And so I had some folks I was close to a little while ago, and I had this talk with one of them on a long road trip, and they both had this tendency to, like, if they posted something on Instagram and haters are in the comments or whatever, like somebody's saying something negative, I don't understand why you feel a need to go back at them. Like, these are people that are really big on social media.
Yeah. And
I'm like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to prove anything. Like, they're just there to get attention. And they show that because the people, haters will comment, posters will reply.
Yep.
And then haters like, oh my God, I didn't expect you to reply. Hello, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't have to do that. Like, you're looking for, like, if you're constantly thinking about negative things, and this is a really simplified way to say this, but if you're constantly thinking negative, you're always like, this person's out to get me. Like, this person doesn't like me or whatever. And you're not thinking, this person is literally just here to get attention because, like, whatever. Like, I have so-and-so followers on Instagram. That's a positive way to think about it.
Right.
Because, like, you're you, they're them. Like you said, you can't change what they're doing. Just let it go, man. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. And I used to not be able to let it go. I used to feel like I had to defend or comment on everything. And I'm sitting here, why?
Yeah.
And two, I feel like, opinions used to be, we used to sit here and I'd say, hey, would you like my opinion? Now opinions are just forced on you whether you want them or not.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, look, I'll take your opinion on a lot of things. But a lot of times I feel like your opinion becomes valid when you have the experience or the knowledge to back it up, not just reading, I read an article today, or I read, that's great. But have you really done your homework? You spent your time to really throw your opinions everywhere. Or at that point, you're just throwing words and just, it loses meaning, I guess, behind a lot of things. I don't really know where I was going with that. But like you said, it's, when you comment back and forth and you do those things, I feel like you're setting that person up for failure by already having an expectation. And, if you have expectations, a lot of times it'll lead to frustration because, you can only expect things out of yourself, I think, and even then, that can lead to frustration. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm just getting, older and I don't have the time to do it, or just the fact that it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Social media and all that stuff is exhausting.
Thinking like, I realized within the last 2 years or so, I've changed the way that I look at everything. When I first started out in photography and was trying to get a foothold in that space, I was always looking at what everybody else was doing. I wasn't good enough. And that made me really insecure. It made me think very negative, like I'll never be this or that or the other. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, keep grinding, and it sounds so corny, but, like, there's a lot of power in just thinking positively. Like, it sounds really...
It sounds so easy that why don't we all do it? But it's the most difficult thing to do at the
same time. It is hard, but the more you practice it, the easier it gets.
100%.
And the more everything... It's like, a good example is when you're... what do you drive?
I drive a Chevy Silverado.
Okay, so when you were out shopping for that Silverado or whatever, when you were thinking about getting that car, or anytime you've ever thought about I want this car, as soon as you either get that car or you've been looking at those cars, you're out in traffic, you start spotting them everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's on your mind. Like, driving that Land Cruiser.
That's a great analogy.
I can spot a Land Cruiser from a mile away. I do it every single day. There's like 15 in Greenville, and I didn't know it before I got that one.
Right.
And it works, like your brain works the same way with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're thinking about it all the time, you're going to see it. If you're thinking positively, like if you're always trying to have a positive outlook on things, you're going to see things in a positive light
100%.
more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, some things are like, oh, yep, that's negative no matter how you look at it.
Right.
But most times you can go, well, I mean, like I could see why they, did this, or all right, that's fine. It helps you let go of things. It helps you see the world in a more positive light, and it helps you move forward.
Right.
Like, thinking negatively, you're just stuck in you got a wet blanket on you all the time.
You're wasting your own time.
Yeah, and it like you said, it's exhausting.
It affects. It's crazy how it affects everything. It affects how you feel mentally, physically. I've worked hard on sleep, and I used to be bad about sleep, and I've been trying to figure out, hey, how can I feel my best, perform my best? How can I be most present for my children? How can I, it comes to, I got to take care of myself. That's what a lot of people forget too, is you can never truly take care of someone else or even have the thought of providing for somebody else or being able to do something until you yourself take that hard look at yourself and make yourself the best possible version you can. And for me, that came through, trial and error 1,000 times. I mean, gosh, I quit drinking 4 years ago, but I probably tried to quit 100 times before. I knew I had a problem. I just didn't want to look at it. I'm glad I caught it when I did. I don't think I would be sitting here right now, honestly, if I hadn't. That's probably one of the biggest blessings, and that led to, just learning how to be patient and taking one thing out at a time and really focusing on that. But, it's just training your brain. It's just like, it's scientifically proven that, boxers are so good that their brain is already programmed to move because it's repetitive. That's how they're so good. It's how basketball players, any kind of, really anybody that does anything. You with photography, I mean, you can see things differently and quickly because of how many times you've done it. And it's now the synapses have been closed. It's the same thing with positive thinking, I think. The more we practice it, the more we try to do it, the better it gets. I related a lot to, for me, quitting out, drinking alcohol. There's a lot of steps and you have little setbacks and a lot of steps, and then finally you start to stretch out these long periods of time. It's the same thing I feel like with positive thinking and gratitude. There's days I do well for long stretches, and then you revert back for a few days. Right. And then, it's not that I'm angry at myself. I use it more as a teaching lesson to say, all right, man, I just wasted 3 more days being caught up on stuff that, if you and I think about it, when have we ever really worried about something, that just completely actually destroyed us? There's been plenty of times in our head, life's over, we're done. How am I going to recover from this? Well, if we'd have taken that time that we spent worrying and actually just tried to stay in our adult ego state and keep moving, I think we could have solved a lot more problems. Do I wish I'd have done it earlier or started this earlier? Yes, but was I ready? No. It's a process for everybody. I mean, we're all different.
Yeah. And like you said, it's not an everyday thing. You try to make it an everyday thing, but like people who know me, people who are closest to me might listen to what I just said about, thinking positively and, all that, and might go, that's bullshit, man. Like, I've seen you on a bad, I'm like, yeah, you've seen me on a bad day, and I do have bad, it's probably like a 60-40, 70-30 split. Like, I try, man. Yeah. Like, I try to stay positive as much as possible. I'm not like, man, I really hope this happens. Like, no, this is going to happen. Like, I'm going to do this, and that, making it real in your own head, I'm going to think positively today. I'm going to take everything that comes at me, and if it's not positive, spin it to make it positive. Because there's always an upside to almost everything. And it is hard to continue that. But like I said, it's just practice. And in the grand scheme of things, I mean, some of the worst things can happen to you. And it's like 3 years from now, man, you're not going to care.
Oh, I mean,
like, you might care, but it's like, it brought you to where you are now, you know? Right. And if where you are now is not a great place, then just keep going, keep moving forward, and keep. It builds that self. There's, for a long time, I felt like I had to agree with I didn't have my own voice. If that was my insecurities, that wasn't somebody else's fault, and it's my fault for not speaking up, or, and in turn, that negative thinking and all that combined and made me a miserable son of a bitch. I was an asshole a lot of times. I mean, I'm not agreeing that you were an asshole. I'm saying, yes, I understand. And there's, I look back and I use them, a lot of times I would look back on those and it would lead me to more negative thinking. Well, maybe I'm not, or maybe, maybe I'm, should do this or that or whatever. Or, just led to breed to more negative thinking, which would bring you that much further back. But now, for me, it's kind of a daily, I try to, hey, like, and I do it, I'm trying to pass it on to my boys. We do a thing at night when we put them to bed. What are some things that you like today, or you were grateful for today? That's awesome. What are some things that you didn't like about today? Can we change them? And a lot of times, Shep's like, well, Santa didn't bring me this, or, it's, it only snowed 2 inches and I wanted 10, I mean, but at the same time, it's that open communication, and I hope that they can learn, if it's 2 years quicker, to be a little bit more grateful and that positive thinking, because for me, it was miserable during that time. To be stuck in that cycle of just awful thinking about yourself and life in general, it was negative. And I wish, I'm still working on trying to figure out where that generated from, or, how that got, and I may not find that answer, but I'm glad to be a little bit on the other side of it. But, like they talk about pink clouds for addicts and things like that. I try to look at the same thing. I don't want to ever be like, I've got this. Because, at that point, then your ego's 100% back, for one. Right. But I think there's always room for self-improvement and learning not to beat yourself up over it, and just saying, all right, hey, this is the past. There's nothing I can change about the past. All I can try to do is not repeat those failures or repeat those behaviors in the future. And hopefully that'll increase, and just be positive all the way through. And I look back at, there's many people that we sat here, I had this conversation probably, I need to have more, you read it in a book, or somebody tells you, a parent or a grandparent or a therapist, or somebody says, you need to practice this gratitude or just positive thinking. I'm like, well, that's the freaking easiest thing in the world. Like, you're an idiot. Yeah. I'm like, that can't work. That's too easy. It's just as easy as negative thinking. Like, I feel like negative thinking's real easy. Yeah. Oh, we love to. I feel like it's because you practice it. I practiced it. Yeah. Right. Oh, I was comfortable in self-pity. Yeah. I would rather sit around and throw myself a pity party for, sit around and act like a child for, days, months, a year. Yeah. And I mean, it feels like when you're doing that, and this is another little tidbit of information for those of you who are stuck in that. It feels like life is just beating the shit out of you all the time. Like, it feels like life is just happening to you. Yeah, but you're beating the shit out of yourself. It's the same way with positive thinking. It's just like life isn't beating you. Life is just happening. Like, when you switch the way you think, you go from, man, life is just throwing shit at me all the time and this sucks, to, man, life is just throwing shit at me all the time and this is awesome. Right. Like, it's like things just happen. Things just keep coming to you. And if you just say yes to the opportunity and figure it out later, that's most of what I do. Right. It's just, find the things that work for you. Find the things that make you feel good, if they're healthy. Right. Everything in moderation. Find those things that are healthy and that work for you, and then just keep doing them.
I think a lot of times we're like, oh, that was great. And we just let them go again.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it. You know, it's work. I think it's very important work.
It's worth it.
It's 100% worth it.
It pays off because I'm guessing that switching that mindset, like switching to that other mindset, has helped you become who you are, like get to where you are as far as business goes and everything.
Tremendously.
Like it's like what I was saying. So Ford and Shep, for instance, I don't know how that came about, but I'm guessing it was like you were just like, oh shit, well there's a thing I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. You know, and that comes from having that mindset. You know, if you've got a negative mindset about it, maybe you're like, I don't know, man, I don't know if we can do this.
To death.
Right, but you did it anyway.
I did it anyways.
Yeah. How did that come about? How did Ford and Shep become? By the way, I'm guessing Shep is your son.
So yeah, I have Redford is my oldest.
Okay.
And then Shepherd is, so last part of his name, first part of the youngest. So that's how the name came about.
It's a cool restaurant name. Like it just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
You know, it's Ford and Shep. You know, it's back in 2016. I was still at Hilton. Like I said, I mean, I'm thankful for the opportunity I had there. Mm-hmm. It wasn't for me, you know,
but you learned a lot.
I learned a lot. Me crunching numbers and doing spreadsheets and walking around in suits, not who I am. I'm comfortable walking around in, you know, my, Walmart, chef's pants and a sweatshirt and just getting stuff done. So it was, I was burned out, and I've contemplated getting out of the business altogether, and I've always been brought back to it. So, I mean, you know, I feel like that's a higher power saying, hey, like, I keep pushing you back here. Maybe you need to stay. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to do something for myself. I was scared to death, but I knew I had to change because I was just burning completely out. I just was done. And I loved the creativity part of it. I love the build stuff, to see it, you know, it's like it's problem solving. It's just like the restaurant, but in every day in the restaurant, you're consistently problem solving. But it's just a larger, grander scheme of things and pulling everything together to create one thing. So it's a lot like, you know, creating a dish and you have all these parts that have to come together at the same time. It's the same thing with creating a business. And that's the part I love. I love dreaming of them. I guess I'm a dreamer, you know. I could sit here and I used to be able to sit here and dream about 1,000 different, you know, I would do this and do that. And then learning how to get it done. So that's the tough part. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing for anybody with a business is like, honestly, I think it's just taking that first step. It's getting over yourself and getting over the fear that you're going to fail and just jumping in. And I'm not going to say that I didn't like test the water a few times or like, you know, I was scared to death, honestly.
But eventually you have to jump. Yeah.
I mean, and I'm still scared to death, but I think that I've replaced that. It's a healthy fear with that fear 6 or 7 years ago was almost debilitating. Like, should I do it? You know, and then you're going to fail.
Yeah. But that's okay. You're going to learn from it.
You're going to learn from it and you have a choice.
If you choose to learn from it.
Right. So then it ties back to what we were talking about earlier. So then you have a choice.
Yep.
You're starting to fail. We sit here and throw a party, you know, a pity party. You know, it's just like this weekend. You know, it's been tough. We had New Year's Eve. We had a lot of reservations. COVID kind of reared its head back up. We lost like a third of our reservations that night for New Year's Eve. So I'm like, man, well, all right, I've already bought all this food. Gosh, like, all right, we're going to lose some revenue. We're already like trying to get out of this pandemic crap. You know, then here comes the snow. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I've got more food. Now I have no customers.
Can't catch a break.
I can't catch a damn break. So I had, this Monday, I kind of had this negative little attitude. You know, I'm like, you know, I've already lost it. What do I, you know? So I had a decision to make, and that was get back in there, get back on the horse. How do we fix it? Or am I going to sit around for the next week or two, ignore the problem, be avoidant? The problem's still going to be there 2 weeks from now, but it's going to be compounded.
It's going to happen to you whether you fix it or not. Like,
you know, and
you know what I mean?
the hardest thing for me that I'm able to do now that I wasn't able to do in my earlier business career or in my earlier life is I decided, this week I said, all right, I'm behind. I don't feel good. I don't, the business is struggling. What do I do? I went back in and I worked. And I worked on my next project. Mm-hmm. And I started checking things off a list. And then all of a sudden it just snapped. That positivity started to compound itself. So then I created, I did one more thing. And then I hadn't posted on social media for Ford and Shep, and it's embarrassing.
I'm bad at it too.
It's just,
it's not my thing. I need a social media person eventually.
I do too. And we hired somebody for the other restaurant and for Stumpy's to do that. I still, just being stubborn, hadn't done it for myself. But, just digging yourself out. And that's all I feel like business is. And the people that I think are really successful are the ones that are figured that out a little bit earlier and weren't scared or just took the leap a little bit faster and were a little bit more ahead of me. And that's okay. I mean, I kind of look at these people and, I try to ask them questions, mm-hmm. How do you handle this? Or, I would never have done that in my younger career. I never would have called another chef, called another restaurant owner, put myself out there.
Because you don't want to.
I didn't want to look weak.
Right. Yeah.
That was the biggest thing for me. I think that's from childhood too. And as we were raised as men, I don't need any help. I'll figure this out myself.
And I'm never going to cry.
I'm never going to cry.
Ever.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, I tried that, and now I cry at dumb shit.
Oh, yeah.
I don't cry any other time. Crystal, my wife, picks on me all the time because I will listen to a song, like a dumb song that doesn't freaking Olivia Rodrigo song. Yeah. And I'll just be in the car, and it'll hit me. And emotions that were trying to come out before, right, all of a sudden come out.
I've embraced that recently. If you feel that way, I feel like, I used to be saying, well, I'm not, I have to be strong. It's being strong. I've learned now is allowing a little bit of your weaknesses to show. Mm-hmm. That's when you truly know, hey, I might have the fortitude and the strength to get through all this. Same way, I get emotional at the weirdest things. Mm-hmm. Sitting there, and it might just be a really touching moment between a parent and a child, or an older couple, or
they could be complete strangers.
And I'm still yeah, just touched by, the love that they're showing each other, or you can see the gratitude and the love. So it's, yeah, I mean, I won't be ashamed to say that, yeah, I've sniffled over a few, things like that. But
Forrest Gump gets me every time. Yeah, it's the same scene.
The movie for me used to be, God, what was it? I used to cry like a baby in it. It'll come to me.
Yeah, the scene in Forrest Gump where he's asking Jenny if little Forrest is smart, or is he right now, yeah, I'm yeah. Like, don't do it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh. But yeah, that's so wild that so many guys, I feel like it's not just you and me. I've heard other examples of this. It's just I don't know if it's because we're taught at a young age to be tough, don't cry, and it's nothing that anybody around us they're not trying to hurt us. It's just how they were raised. And it's you end up keeping a whole bunch of shit inside. Oh yeah. It's got to come out eventually. And it's either going to come out as anger aimed at the wrong people, or just, like I was saying, I'd be watching freaking Trolls or something and I'm crying. Yep. Because Princess Poppy made it back home with all the trolls. Right. That's Crystal's favorite movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I think last time I got I was just out by myself on the boat and I was fishing, and it was the overall beauty of the world. Just kind of, I was so, for so long I was so busy and so stuck in my own head that I didn't, and that's part of gratitude too, that I didn't see behind me that whole entire world that is just, can be very beautiful. I mean, it can be very scary too, but I've cut out a lot of news and a lot of all that stuff. And too, I've cut out a lot of Instagram and social media because the only person I'm really in competition with right now is myself. Mm-hmm. So not saying that there's not a million talented people in this town. Right. I mean, you got Luke, you have all these guys. I mean, you have Toby that's been around forever at Starlight. There's so much talent. There's so many talented people in this town, in this area.
But it's more of a support system.
Right.
Than
it became more of a support
competition.
system than a competition.
Right.
And man, it's so much easier to live that way. And it's so much more healthy. And, you know, I used to not be able to look at other people's successes like that.
And be happy.
Right. It was kind of like there was this irritation almost. And
why am I not there? Why am I not doing what they're doing? Or why didn't I think of that?
Right. And, you know, it just seems all so silly now, but it's a lot easier to live that way though. Mm-hmm. A lot easier.
How did you go from the Hilton to opening Ford and Shep? How do you go about, I mean, because you said it was around, when did you leave? Around 2016 is what you said? 2017?
I ended up leaving the Hilton in 2017.
And that was about when Dickinson was coming
through.
Dickinson was becoming that area.
I forget really how Thomas Taft, he owns the building that Ford and Shep's in. We, I don't know if I confidentially was like, hey, like, I'm just, you don't know anybody that has a spot like that might, you know, and he was, you know, he was like, yes, I actually do. And we kind of grew that conversation. And I quickly realized, actually, this might be the opportunity. This is the time. And then I was fortunate, something clicked and said, just go. Mm-hmm. You know, I wish I could say it just clicked. It was a lot of painstaking, self-loathing, you know, am I good enough to do this? Am I ready for this? And, you know, if you ask yourself those questions and you keep doing that, you'll never be ready. Right. You'll never get there.
And to be honest, if you haven't done it before, like you haven't made that leap before, there's no way to really know if you're ready. It's almost like when I talk to people who have
handbook.
Right. When I talk to people who have kids, it's like people are always asking me and Chris, like, when are you guys going to have kids? I'm like, bro, not anytime soon. Because in our heads, we're like, we're not ready. Mm-hmm. And we always get the same response.
You're never ready.
You're not going to be ready.
No.
And I think that applies to most things in life that are scary. Like things that are like what you're saying, you felt like you weren't ready. And odds are you probably like, you weren't because you didn't know you weren't, you know what I mean?
I mean, just like
it's
children.
Just a matter of doing it.
I wasn't ready.
And you'll figure it out, man.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And too with the children, you'll quickly figure out with children too that you need to get ready because you got somebody else that depends on you. Because, you know, I mean, I think that was a lot of part of me deciding to quit drinking was, you know, man, I've got these two that depend on me. I can't even depend on myself right now. You know, something's got to pull together. So, you know, I think, we're never ready, but until you do it. And then you just gotta, I don't know, it's, I feel like it's that way with anything. It's any new thing. You know, I feel like I used to be scared to try almost anything new because I was afraid of failure.
Yep.
That's all what, you know, I didn't, well, you know, I don't know if I want to try out for this team. What if I don't make it? Mm-hmm. And then it paralyzed me and I didn't do well or I didn't make it or, you know, it was always this like uncomfortable, just fear, insecure, like it was awful.
For me, I know that came from being because I'm the same way. I'm still that way. You know, I'm still, I can confidently say your boy is afraid of failure. Like I am. I do my best to learn from it whenever it happens because it is going to happen. I've accepted that. Mm-hmm. It's still not fun, you know, and I know that my fear of failure causes me to really not want to jump at times. Mm-hmm. You know, it makes me scared to jump. And I know that comes from as a kid, I was a chunker, I was a big boy, and I got bullied a lot. And I felt like I wasn't really good at anything. My confidence was very low. Where do you think that came from for you? You don't seem like you were a chunky guy as a kid.
I mean, I had, you know,
that's just my experience.
Yeah,
I was a big kid.
I was definitely not in shape. I was definitely like, I wasn't going to be the star athlete. You know, I did play a lot of sports, but it was still uncomfortable for me at that point too. Mm-hmm. I mean, it for me, I think a lot of it came from, to to be completely honest, it probably came from, I went through contentious divorces with my parents. And I think just not knowing where you stand in that whole entire thing, and there's so much going on, and that's, I think, where that insecurity came from. I didn't ever really feel like I had a home base. I felt like I was ripped back and forth. It was tough, and I had just some things that went on in childhood. I feel like I had to grow up quick too at one point, and I thought I was grown. I thought I was, and I had no freaking clue. I was so stuck back in, as a child in a man's body.
That's exactly what I feel like right now.
and I can honestly say I still have that child still in there, and he wants to come out every once in a while, and I want to act like an absolute little child, like a little baby bitch, as somebody says to me every once in a while. But now I have the fortitude and the strength to, when somebody calls me out on that, I might get a little defensive at first, but then I'm like, you give me 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I might come back. I'm more than likely 99% of the time I'm going to come back around and be like, you're right.
Yeah, you're right. I was being a bitch. God, sorry. Yes. Yeah.
And I hate who I am when that comes out. So that's, I don't hate who I am when that comes out. It's a very harsh way
I get
of
what
thinking.
you're saying. Yeah. It's not a good place to
try hard to go the other way.
Right.
I think a lot of that came from childhood. I think a lot of that, same kind of thing. I was moved around to a lot of schools, so then too, when I moved from the Boston area out to the western part of the state, I had a wicked little accent, I said weird things, and I had that little Boston, I got immediately picked on for that because these kids had no accent. They were mountain kids.
Yeah.
I was like, my parents, were a little bit more, had a little bit of money, and we moved out to a rural farming community. So I was immediately kind of the rich city kid. And, mine at the same time, I had probably more chores and work to do than the majority of any of them. But they, I think that's where it came from. And I think I can't pinpoint. I can just say that there's probably a multitude of things that led me to that.
Yeah.
And then I've had to undo it. And that's through a lot of work. The thought of therapy to me was, I was like, I'm not doing that. And now I'm like, I'm not going to miss a session.
It's something I've been meaning to do. To
get that third party perspective. And, I think that's where I also learned to kind of like, okay, like if somebody keeps telling, especially a third person's like, oh, okay. So maybe it's time to take a look at myself.
Somebody from outside your circle is going, yeah, the same thing they're saying. It's kind of, yeah.
But, it's, I guess that's where it stemmed from.
Yeah. It seems like you've overcome that quite a bit. Like with Ford and Shep, you're opening up it's a taco place?
Yeah, so it's a lot of Latin cuisine.
It's a really cool spot. I told you on the phone the other day, I've been watching that be built, and I'm like, what the fuck is Greenville? I thought it was like a city thing. I thought it was like you can rent this place out to it was just, it's a strange looking concept, but it's also strange in a cool way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's all outdoors.
Right.
We will have a lot of heaters around our bar and fireplaces, and we're trying to, we have a lot more landscaping to come into to kind of make it this like secret garden-esque kind of lush kind of vibe. But just crazy tacos, frozen drinks. But we might, it's not going to be pigeonholed into just Mexican. So it'd be all over Latin. We'll not saying that we don't have a fried chicken taco or Asian flair, fusion, kind of the same thing we do at Ford and Shep, using a lot of local ingredients, making fun, Latin inspired food. I love Mexico. I love the culture. I have two of my my bonus children or stepchildren are of Mexican descent, and so we're trying to keep some traditional atmosphere in there, or tradition, but mixed with because I am basically a suburban white male opening up a taco place. And
for the people who are listening in Greenville who don't know, where is it going to be?
So it's on the corner. It's 601 Dickinson. So it's on the corner of Dickinson and Reed Circle. So it's about a block down from Ford and Shep.
At the end of Dickinson, facing the library.
Correct.
It's on
towards
your right.
5 points.
Yeah.
So a lot of outdoor. we're kind of gearing it to. We had to keep COVID in mind and all this stuff in mind, and really wanted to, I love outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact I'm like, I'm basically cook outside, sit outside, get to hang out outside all day. I'm like, and cook. That's pretty much fun.
I didn't think about the whole COVID of it, but it's a smart move.
Yeah. So outdoor dining can get like a lot of credits and stuff too.
Right.
You can also, if it rears its ugly head again, the limitations that were on inside may not affect us as much. And two, setting it up for Grubhub, Uber Eats, all that stuff, lunch, dinner, fast casual is just a little bit more profitable than fine dining too.
That's strange to think.
More repeat customers, lower food cost items. With the increase in food going just absolutely bananas, it's really hard, especially in Eastern North Carolina, to pass those costs on. People down in larger cities or in areas, won't blink an eye at paying $80 for a steak,
like a Charlotte or a Charleston.
Yeah, even Raleigh. But we're still kind of, Greenville's on a tipping point of becoming that big city that they want, and unfortunately, big city things come with big city prices.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to keep them as low as we possibly can. I mean, I've decreased I haven't increased as much as I should, just because I'm trying to keep. It's a balance, but at the same time, scallops, for instance, used to be able to get them for like $26 a pound. They're 40.
Wow. Steaks,
I mean, I'm paying. Basically, the best way I can explain it to people is I'm paying what you used to pay retail. So,
Yeah. With Ford and Shep, what's the idea behind Ford and Shep as far as like when you went into that? What did you want to make? Like, what did you want to build? You wanted, something that was, I want to source my stuff from specifically here. I want this type of ambiance or whatever. What was your idea behind Ford and Shep when you went to go open it?
So, yeah, we wanted to take as much local produce, meats as possible and use them in different facets. So, world cuisine, that's the way I like to eat. And for a long time I tried to, and I feel like I've switched gears now as I've gotten a little bit older. I used to try to cook what I thought everybody wanted or what everybody else wanted, which I was getting my information from, magazines, social media, what I thought. When you kind of just got to, if you really want, you got to cook what you like to do and believe in yourself, and what you do is good and what you like is good. And that love and that passion will then be transferred onto the plate. When I was cooking somebody else's, what I thought somebody else wanted, it just didn't work for me altogether.
Your heart wasn't in it.
My heart wasn't in it. I feel like it wasn't me. And now I feel like, and I'm scared too, like once more, failure, or scared just to like, well, somebody, can I do this? I feel like I was told by somebody, well, you can't do that, or you can do this, and then I started asking myself, instead of saying you're right, I would just start saying, well, why can't I do that? And then, so Ford and Shep is, we do think about our guests. We do think about what Greenville wants and what people would like to eat, but we then take what we like to do and what we like to eat and kind of glorify it and raise it to the next level. So, chicken wings is like one of my favorite things, or, I'm easy, man. Pizza, chicken wings, tacos.
Pizza's my weakness.
I'm fine with cereal. Like, I don't, but how can we take, all right, so maybe we do duck wings, or maybe we do, why are we scared at Ford and Shep? Like, why are chicken, and I'm glad that the industry went that way too. I feel like we Luke could probably attest the same thing too. I feel like we had to how much ingredients or how many different crazy wild things can we put on a plate? How many foams can we make? That's not really food. I mean, it is, but to me, it's not.
Yeah.
I do like a foam if it's appropriate.
Like, but it's there's one that I've heard of. It's like a I want to say it's like liver,
like frog gras and like stuff like that.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. I mean, it's great, but it doesn't need to be. For me, it was more like, how many ingredients can I jam into one dish to make it exotic? When I found out, when I simplified my life and I simplified everything else down, and even in thinking, I've sat there and I said, just a simple focus on the good, the getting the best ingredients. So say it's a piece of meat and treating that thing with the most utmost respect and cooking it simply. It's amazing if you take the steps. And I think I did that a lot in my life too. I think I tried to shortcut, and it's okay to shortcut if the outcome is 100% the same. But with cooking and with a lot of things in life, if you got to braise, just started simplifying things and they were more delicious than all these crazy, it's just, I was overthinking, 100% overthinking. Yeah. Just like I was doing with everything else in my life, I was overthinking. I was doing the same thing in the business career. And I've tried to pull that back. Scary as hell, but, will it work? I don't know. It's what I like to do. It's what I think works. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Yeah. And I'll take people's feedback. I mean, it seems to be working. I feel like the majority of people like what we do, and that's the thing too, is I had to realize too that we're not going to be for everybody, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Can't please everybody. Yeah. I mean, I tried to do that. It just doesn't work.
What's the, so you mentioned being worried about putting certain things on the plate and like going, I think this is going to work, but I'm not sure if other people are going to like this. What's the thing that in your head was like the craziest shit you put on the menu that worked? You were just like, all right. I mean, okay. I'm glad it worked. I'm surprised it is though.
So I've had a few surprises here. It's like there's been a few things. So we have octopus on the menu right now.
I think I saw you post about that the other day.
Yeah, I just posted.
I've never even had octopus, and I was like, that shit looks good.
I just posted it yesterday. So, I was like, well, we've learned how to kind of present them too. And, our job is just as much to feed people as is to educate a little bit too. Mm-hmm. So it's important that, hey, like, why don't you just try this, or not put it as a main, but put it as a shared plate or an appetizer, because people are more likely to try something if it's $14 or $16. Than I'm the same way. You have to think about people's psychology when you're writing menus and doing business. So it's, would I try something if it's $35, $40? I'm like, I don't know if I want to. No.
That's why I've never had a lobster roll. I've told people this many times. I've never had lobster because the shit's expensive.
Oh yeah, lobster roll now is like $35.
I'm not a seafood guy.
I'm not really either. Honestly, I love to cook seafood.
Yeah,
but like if it's on the menu, I'm more than likely gonna shy towards something else.
Yeah,
I'm a braised meat kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm a meat and potatoes guy. Yep. And I'll destroy some shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I like shrimp.
Seafood that doesn't taste like the sea.
Right.
I'm down with.
See, like
I don't like the fishy taste.
I like raw oysters. I don't like steamed oysters.
I'm also a texture person. I'll try oysters one day, but
yeah,
it's like,
well, that's the thing. So octopus, we were talking about octopus. Like I was like, well, this will I'll either throw all these away, and we sell a ton of it. It's we brought in, what was it? I think we brought in some kangaroo.
Whoa, you can do that?
Yeah, you see,
that sounds illegal.
So there's a place.
It's not.
It's not. And kangaroo is actually quite tasty. So there's a place, you can get a lot of game: kangaroo, ostrich, alligator, rattlesnake, bison, antelope, wild boar.
Mm-hmm. Wild boar.
Yeah.
I would expect that to taste kind of gamey.
I'm still trying to figure out, well, we have wild boar here, and we've actually killed some up in the northern part of the state, but the females are okay to eat. Mm-hmm. The big boars are actually, they have, so the first time I had a buddy of mine that lives in town, took me up to his hunt camp, and he killed a huge boar. Mm-hmm. And we found it because it had run into like an old cornfield, and we found it because you could smell it. Mm-hmm. It's
real musky.
Oh, and they have balls the size of like volleyballs. Dude was stacked. I don't know if it was like a normal thing, but
he had testicular cancer.
He was a big boar.
Yeah,
let's just put it that way. But I wouldn't. They smell so bad.
Yeah.
Now the females, the sows are good to eat. You braise them just like you would anything else, or you can do pretty much anything. Venison, same kind of thing. But yeah, kangaroo. I was like, and people tried it, and we burned through all of it.
Wow. So, see, that's one, like you were naming all those other animals, and I was like, that makes sense, like rattlesnake, alligator. Like people are like, yeah, I don't like that animal. That's a scary animal. Yeah. I'm going to eat that one. And I feel like a lot of people might look at kangaroos and go, oh,
Yeah.
Like, kangaroos are fucking scary too, man.
Yeah, kangaroos knock your ass
They'll
out.
fucking kill you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just look at, you can find 100 YouTube videos of kangaroos beating the shit out of people. But, yeah, I think that's kind of the wildest thing I think we've, I think it's all trial and error. And that's why I think I like to change our menu a lot. Mm-hmm. I think that's why we change the menu. One, I think it's good to not get our customers and our guests stagnant. Doesn't get the staff stagnant. I've worked at plenty of places where I go in and I do the same thing every day. Oh, I got to make this sauce. I got to make this. I got to cut this. It becomes mindless. You become disengaged. Mm-hmm. So, that's, I think, our fun part of the day is when all of us get there, say, all right, what are we going to do? And we flash our menu out and these guys go and create it. And, it's been fun for me to be back on the line a little bit. I think I'll always cook at Ford and Shep. I mean, it's got my 2 children's names on it. So, but, yeah, it's, Greenville surprises me every once in a while with, step outside. I mean, I feel like Greenville as a whole is kind of really starting to embrace the
non-barbecue,
non-barbecue,
non-fried chicken, not regular old Eastern North Carolina food.
Right.
You said it surprises you every once in a while, and seeing restaurants like Ford and Shep, even Luna popping up, and it's like, I'm like, there's a lot of pizza places around here that are. They're what you expect when you go to a pizza place around. When I say that, I'm talking like your Papa John's, your Pizza Hut, I mean,
look at Richard. He was like, I see all these places. Yeah. I'm going to trust in myself that I have a better and different product.
And he does. I was like, I mean, to be honest, not that I didn't have confidence in Richard. I was just, that's kind of crazy to me. Yeah. Like I don't know if people are gonna gravitate towards that. I also at the time didn't realize, the amount of people in Greenville who have money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not that like Luna's like super expensive, but for pizza, people might go, that's kind of expensive, but it's worth it. It's a different experience. And I think that's what surprised me is people aren't going there expecting Pizza Hut or whatever. Like they they embrace the fact that it's a whole experience. It's also delicious food.
Right.
But it's a lot different. It's a different thing. Like it's a completely different animal.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Yeah. What do you mentioned you're we talked about it before. I think you mentioned it during the podcast, but you're kind of an avid outdoorsman. Like you're outside a lot. You seem like you do a lot of fishing.
I do.
Yeah. So growing up in Vermont, is that kind of where that came from, or?
Yeah. So growing up in Vermont, we I grew up in a town of 500 people.
Wow.
Just right over the border of Massachusetts. So we had one general store that didn't get gas until I think I'd moved away. So, your closest grocery store was 35 to 40 minutes away. Your closest mall was an hour.
Wow.
But behind my walk out my door and to the left, I just had a mountain behind me. I mean, I look back now and I'm like, wow, what a absolute paradise to live in.
Yeah.
So, my best friend, Brian, and his brother, Jack, Jack was a huge outdoorsman. He, really got me into skiing, really got me into like backpacking and camping. And so we spent our summers cutting trails, to ski in the wintertime, just burning the mountains up. We had the Appalachian Trail behind us, right behind my house, not even a mile. So we could jump on that if we wanted to. Miles and miles of trails for mountain biking and dirt biking and four-wheeling and horseback. And so we just, we had a river that ran right through the town, a creek that ran right behind the house. So I think it was a comfortable place for me. It was the one place I think as a child that I did feel comfortable. It was an escape. We'd get out of school and we'd grab, our backpacks would be packed and we'd leave Friday afternoon. You wouldn't see us till Sunday night. Mm-hmm. And, it's kind of a given that our parents were like, well, they're somewhere, we'd be like, we're up there on the peak. We had topographical maps. We kind of had to pin where, right where around where we'd be. Some of the best memories I've had were up there, just chilling and talking and back then boozing and doing whatever. And But
it's crazy for me to think that people used to do that. Like, because I mean, I'm of the generation, like when I was growing up, it was unusual in high school, especially like later in high school, for someone not to have a cell phone.
right.
You know,
I didn't have a cell phone.
exactly. You're like, yeah. My parents were like, I don't know, they're up there somewhere.
Yeah,
hopefully not eaten by a bear.
I
Like,
didn't have a cell phone. I remember payphones, having to stop and check in. I remember with the long cords, like hiding around the corner, you know, trying to talk to my girlfriend or my friends. You know, yeah, it's crazy. Like there's no tech. It was a much simpler way of life, I think. Yeah, like I hate my cell phone.
yeah,
I don't like emails. I can't stand it.
I don't know how to live without it.
Well, that's the thing. I
what
don't now
sucks.
either.
Yeah.
You know, it's so my wife and I went out to Colorado, way out. My parents were running a ranch out there, like a hospitality ranch, like kind of like a dude ranch. So you go out there, so we fly into Denver. We drive 3.5 hours into the wilderness. We go up to Fort Collins and take a left, and we lose cell phone service an hour and a half before we get to the ranch, up in the close to Wyoming. So the first day, it was like nerve-wracking. It's like I lost a drug. I'm like, you know, almost like phantom. Like I'm sure you get those too. Maybe like the phantom, like watch buzz or the phone buzz, and I'm like, oh well, it's not. It's in the house because it doesn't work.
My phone will slide in my pocket a little bit, and I'm like, oh, who texted me?
So I got emails like when I went to the main lodge for dinner or lunch, and that was pretty much it. And you know, this third day it was like paradise. You know, sending everybody emails saying, I don't have access to this. And that's when we like to travel. That's why I like to travel down to, you know, Central America and stuff like that, because just being completely disconnected, I feel like is really the only true way to, and it's very hard now with, you know, my wife runs her own business with 4 kids between the two of us. You know, now it's more of a paranoia thing when I don't have my phone. I'm like, are the kids okay? You know? And I'm like sitting here, you know, and that's one thing where, you know, I thought about when I was out there. I said, you know, you did perfectly fine when you were a kid. Like, it's okay. Like, there's still like, you know, they can get in touch with you if they need to. Yeah. Landlines, you know, I kept remembering, like, all right, you know, if they need to call me, they know where I'm at. They can get to me.
Landlines are still a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have one, but yeah, they are.
Yeah. They're a thing. They're a thing in most places your kids can access.
But yeah, outdoor, I mean, we were out there and I love being disconnected. You know, she was an avid fly fisherman. She was from Pennsylvania, western part of Pennsylvania.
Nicole?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't really know much.
Coal miner's daughter.
Okay.
Yeah, her dad was actually trapped in a coal mine, like when he was like 18.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a tough little cookie right there.
No offense, Nicole, but I wouldn't look at you and go, you look like a fly fisher person.
Oh, so we went up there and, well, I didn't really believe it either. So she'd got me a fly rod for Christmas, and I learned how to do it, kind of taught myself, and I'm like, all right, let's see if she can put her money where her mouth is. So we're on this.
Says the guy who's never done it. He's like, let's see if you can really do it.
So, you know, by this time I'd fished a little bit. You know, I was okay, and, you know, but now being in my different state, I was able to ask. You know, I didn't go up there and like God was like, oh, you know, I've got this. Don't let me. You know, I'll fish by myself. No, I was like, can you please help me? I don't know how to do this really that well. Meanwhile, she's out there just hammering fish, and I'm like, you know, just roll casting, and you know, I'm like, okay, all right. You know, that's the thing with Nicole, though. I mean, she says that she's going to do it, and there's not a lot of BS with that one.
Yeah, I will say she seems like that kind of person for sure.
Yeah,
yeah. She seems like a very confident person.
She is, and you know, the crazy thing is, you know, she comes off that way. This, you know, but she's a sweetheart. I mean, I don't think there was one person in our lives that, you know, she's always thinking about somebody else. And, you know, that's the one thing I absolutely, you know, she gives a lot more than she takes. And that's rare to find in somebody now. And, you know, it's nice to just, you know, I value her opinion. We, you know, bounce things off of each other. And, you know, great stepmother to my children. You know, just an overall great person. I can't, you know, there's, you know, that's one thing. Great, you know, gratitude. You know, I'm grateful to have her in my life. You know, she's been supportive of, you know, she doesn't really drink that much either. So it's nice to be with somebody that, you know, kind of has respect for that, and
it's a balance thing.
It just works, man.
Yeah.
It just works. Our house is crazy. You know, we have 6 of us in there.
Yeah.
And there's 5 boys and her. So it's an absolute, I mean, how she, you know, is able to, that, you know, when I think I have it, when I run tough, I mean, this woman, you know, runs her own business, works her own job, drives it, you know, finds time to go to the gym 4 days a week, still runs a huge business, is able to get up every morning, cook breakfast for everybody, cook dinner for everybody. I mean, I'm like, a lot of times I'm like, and talk about a chef or a cook. I've had her actually, my guys can attest to this too. She came and helped us for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks while when the other guys left. Man, she was killer. Like one of the best employees we've ever had. I don't even employ it. I mean, it was like,
yeah,
you know, I mean, and as far as a cook, I mean, she's unreal.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I wouldn't want to go up against her in a competition, especially with baking.
But. Wow. Do you want to talk about it all? The idea you're thinking about the outdoor stuff. You don't have to.
I mean, it's a long ways off. It's a dream. You know, I think it's good to have long-term goals, but you know, right now I'm just trying to focus on. I've got a lot in my court. That's one thing I've learned too. Is I felt like I used to have to do everything, and I didn't really trust anybody to do it, and that's more ego.
Yeah,
I've learned to kind of delegate and allow people that are also good at what they do to do their things. Like hence Josh and Brighton. I mean, I don't have to mess with them a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they kill it down there. Same thing at Ford and Shep with Grant and Bill. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have those people. You know, we're opening at Stumpy's elsewhere. And then, you know, with Amante, I'm scared of staffing right now. You know, that's been a little bit tough. But, you know, my long-term goal of what I'd love to do and finish with is I'd love to have a huge piece of property and do kind of, you know, I fell in love with that ranch that we went out to Colorado where my parents were running. You know, I mean, I would move out there second. I don't think it's great for the children. You know, I mean, it would be great for the children, but at the same time, it's just not an option right now.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a big hunting preserve, fishing kind of preserve, you know, where we have luxury tents, a little bit of spa, where we have guides, hopefully myself, you know, that could take you out, fish, bring it back, or even hunt, you know, and we do cooking classes or prepared, you know, teach you how to clean the deer, quarter the deer, you know, how to roast this, you know, do this ham, make sausage, you know. That's one thing I've really been hammering on my kids too is conservation. You know, I want them to have the same opportunity that I do outdoors, you know, with, you know, my fishing is pretty much strictly catch and release. I don't, I've always got fish at the restaurant, so there's no need for me to yank more out of the water.
Right.
You know, to end up probably in a freezer that may not get used. That's, you know, I teach my kids the same thing. Like, you know, my oldest, we were fishing in the lower part of the tar, and he caught a fish, and he was like, so it was a crappie. It was a nice sized crappie, and he's like, I want to keep this. And I said, well, if we keep it, you're going to eat it. I said, you know, that's the only way. We're not going to kill this fish. He's like, well, you know, it's just, you know, and I love that the fact that they have that respect for the wildlife and nature, and I wish a lot more people did. But yeah, I mean, that main goal is to have a big place because I just want to conserve the land too. I mean, I don't really want to do much to it. I just love being out there. I love God's creation. You know, it never ceases to amaze me. You just go out there and, you know, it's just like this beautiful resource we have with the Tar River. Everybody hates on it. Get out there.
Yeah.
It is so gorgeous and beautiful. Yeah, it's tea stained and it's got tannins in it. It's dirty. Well, you know what? I mean, that's just part of its beauty. That's a part of its nature's purpose for that river. You know, I spend a ton of time out there. I love it. I love Blunt's Creek. I love the Pamlico Sound. Greenville, I got away from a lot of that stuff for a long time. You know, I've hunted and fished more in the past 3 or 4 years than I did in the past 20. Some of that self-care stuff, you know, it's important to feed your soul those things, you know, the sunshine and just being out there. That's that's when I feel close to everything and am able to think clearest, I think, and have some of my kind of like aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
But, that long-term goal, yeah, I'd love to retire out there.
Yeah.
I mean, when I get too old to walk and I can't go out and hunt anymore, then I'll sit in the cook shelter and build a fire. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something about it that I absolutely just love and am attached to.
Yeah.
Absolutely love getting lost in the woods. Like, we bought a little piece of property outside of town. When it snowed, we took the boys out there and taught them like tracks. So, these are deer tracks. Which way is the deer going? These are rabbit tracks. These are, and they were following them and they were just ripping through the woods, and they found like, an old tractor tire, and they were like, how'd this get back here? And, and just watching them kind of learn outside of Fortnite and iPads, that's gold.
Yeah.
If we can get them outside.
Yeah. Well, man, we are hour and 20 in.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't want to keep, you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
So,
I've got to grab a child from school.
Yeah.
I promised him a lunch date. So,
I'll get you out of here. You got anything you want to leave the people with? Not to put you on the spot.
No, I mean, I think it's like I said, I think it's the gratitude and the positive something, and just it seems so simple, but if there's one thing that I can pass on, and I apologize to those people that had to see me in my miserable state, and that may have, I'm sure that I've wronged a few people in the past, and I've made mistakes, and but at the same time, it's okay, and it's a part of growing up, and it's a part of becoming who who you're going to be, and we're always changing, and hopefully it's for the better. And and I had somebody tell me a long time ago, I was, I think I'd gotten a DUI. I was like 22 years old, and they said we're human. They said every day, every second, every minute, every hour, we have an opportunity to change what we're doing. We can at any given time we can say, okay, and that was, it was once again, it's the positive thinking. They're like, oh, it seems so easy. We can change whatever we want. It's so simple that I think we overthink it and we overlook it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just start with one a day. Start with, just, hey, like, it's infectious in a great way.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's beautiful outside. Just those little things, sending those messages to your brain are setting you up for your thinking and how you're going to do. Don't get down on yourself.
Yeah.
Beating yourself up's not doing anything else. I think, I'm thankful. I can honestly sit here and just say I'm thankful for my life. I'm thankful for, where I'm at now. I'm thankful for the people that helped me get there. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for my kids. I'm thankful for a million things. Mm-hmm. And, I'm thankful to be here today and to sit here and chat with you. I mean, it's been great.
I appreciate you coming on, man. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
I have too. And I'm surprised we hadn't run into each other before.
Yeah.
Especially if we go to the same gym, different times.
Yeah. I didn't know you went there. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a morning person.
I am not.
Yeah.
I made that very apparent to Skyler. I was like, you're not going to catch me there at 9 a.m, man.
I'm the 9 a.m. guy.
Nah. But, I'm middle of the afternoon. That's when I'm at my best.
But yeah, I mean, I appreciate it, and I'm thankful for the opportunity, and looking forward to trying to get these places open and do a little more outdoors time and fishing. I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, it's shatter almost here, so I might have seasons of fish. But, but yeah, I thank you very much, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Again, thank you for coming on. Really enjoyed it. Yeah. I really like you.
Oh, thanks.
You're
buddy.
Awesome, dude.
Really appreciate it.
Everybody, make sure you are following Small Stuff Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I don't think I mentioned TikTok before, so if you made it this far, go follow us on TikTok. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the things. Follow Small Stuff Media. Follow About That with O.B. Smith. Brandon, follow Ford and Shep on Instagram.
Amante Tacos, Stumpy's Greenville.
Yeah. All the things will be in the description in the show notes. Brandon, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Until next time.